everybody that's joining us this evening. This is the StratiVentures industry webinar. As you know, from the last time we had it once a week, we're now doing it every other week. And so this being the 26th of October, it's going to be this Monday. We're going to skip the next Monday, and then we will have the next webinar the following week from that, and that will be continually on. So thanks everybody for joining us. And we do have Angela VanNess. She's our guest speaker and actually one of our StratiVentures contractors, and is here to enlighten us on how to work with contractors. So the secrets you should know when working with a contractor. So there really isn't a secret, but it's, I think from you and I, from the past experience, it's all about communication, right?
Absolutely.
It's about communication. So a couple bits of what we call housekeeping here. So we're doing our welcome right now. Then we're going to have Angela go ahead and get started with her speaking part. And then around 7:10, we'll open that up to a Q&A, guys. So those of you that are partaking or want to participate, we do encourage a lot of questions. So feel free to put all of your questions in the Q&A section. That's the Q and the A section. Please type in your questions there. And if you have questions to the moderator, we do have a moderator, Enid, that's on standby. Those would be more industry or SVI related questions or things that you might need help with the system. But all questions over to the Q&A section. And we do encourage a lot of questions, guys. Also, if you go to our www.investorrealestatetraining.com webpage, that landing page is going to give you a ton of information about StratiVentures. Also register for a free one-on-one session in which you'll get to know more about us and we'll get to know more about you. I think so far since we started having these, contracting questions have always been one of the main topics, Angela. That's why we bring this. You know, that's why we want to make sure we listen to everybody and we answer those questions for them. And the presentation keynotes, we have, these are topics that Angela is going to be talking about, are going to be, you know, how contractors work with investors, past struggles working with investors and how to overcome them, best questions to ask while interviewing a contractor, and then possible bonus information, process, timeframes, and single family, and differentiation of each project needs. And last but not least, the FIC Homes services, which we've been big fans of you, Angela. If I were to tell you, where did Angela come from? We started investing in real estate in May of 2012 when we went and bought real estate education from a national education company, and Angela and her partner were right in front of us. And so they turned around, we high-fived, and then found out they were contractors, and you guys were the contractors on our first projects. And
right.
now looking 8 years down the road, we are back together again, and we are looking forward to working with you guys again. And so that's why we really want to have you guys shine in front of everybody. So if you can, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bio, past history, and then we will definitely move into the speaking points with you.
Sure. Education is in architecture. Went to work for the architecture firm in the Gallery area. Realized real quick I liked being outside, outdoors, not being cooped up in the office on gorgeous days. So in order to utilize my passion of design, we created this company in '06. And with it, at first it was more of honeydews for career women. And that turned into massive renovations, new construction, additions. And we also still do the designs, we do the permit expediting. So it's just become this whole thing. And we are investors as well. So when we look at a property, we look at it from the investor standpoint of where you should and shouldn't put your money, because you want to get your ROI up there. So being that we've been in the business for this long, 15 plus years, we have gained quite a bit of knowledge in the Houston area. Through the do's and the don'ts. So you can utilize us to skip those mistakes, definitely.
Excellent. That's excellent. So definitely the investor point of view will avoid a lot of investor mistakes on both sides. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. I guess one of the first topics that you wanted to talk about are how do contractors work with investors? And go ahead, you got your key points on the screen, and feel free to enlighten us.
Two major ways that a contractor will work with an investor. First, you can just hire them as a GC, and they're going to typically charge anywhere from 25% to 100% markup. And believe me, those contractors do, those GCs and builders do exist out there. The ones that are charging 100% markup, it's absolutely ridiculous. So you want to do your due diligence. You want to know, arm yourself with the information on what things cost. You can go to Google and look up cost versus value for 2020. And that'll give you kind of the national average remodel costs. So kind of know what you're supposed to be looking at numbers wise. So you're not financially being raped by a GC that thinks that he's going to pull one over on you. The other option is you can partner with a GC and they'll do everything at cost, no markup. And how they get paid is they get a percentage of the profit. So that in essence, they are taking just as much risk as you are because they don't know if that house is going to sell for top dollar or if the market's going to crash and y'all are going to have to let the house go. So they're taking just as much risk, but that's how you keep the contracting price down as far as the remodel goes and the construction. Next page.
Okay. Well, one question here. Would you say that when it says arming yourself with the information, at StratiVentures, our members, and you've seen our repair analyzer, that comes with material labor, which gives a phenomenal ballpark figure that all of our members can use, in which you've gone to some of our, quoted some of the projects and makes your life easier, right? A little more confident in the relationship. Excellent.
Absolutely. Because you're coming to the table with your information. And so they know that they can't mess around with you. This is your budget. And so they're going to tell you what we can and can't do with that budget. And you typically, labor prices are what they are. The budget's going to vary based on the materials that you buy. So you can't go for the most expensive stuff, but you do want to go with what's popular and what's going to sell the house. And the design team at SVI does a really good job of putting that package together.
Awesome. Let's go to the next slide.
All right, so this is the past struggles. When I've worked with investors before, the number one thing is they get their emotions involved. They'll make an emotional decision on a house that they're not even going to move into. The purpose is to get the house remodeled, get it on the market, and sell. You're busy spending interest money on a hard money loan. And if you start making these emotional decisions, it's going to cost money. It's going to be a change order. It's going to delay the project. And typically those emotional decisions are based off of something like a color. If you just go with what the design team picks out, it's a win-win. But when you start putting your emotions involved and you want a pink wall or a yellow wall or peach or red, I'll share you my opinion. This isn't a good idea. That's an emotional decision. But at the end of the day, it's your house, it's your decision, and we're going to do what you want to do. But I will guide you and say, look, this is not a good idea as an investor. Let's just work with the package we have and let's get it on the market so everyone gets paid. You really need to trust the design team. We hire them to put this together. Trust them to follow the aesthetics and the color palette for the best results.
Angela, one thing that when you've been working with Maria, the selections and design director, one of the things that she says all the time is, what do the comps say? Right?
Exactly.
What do the comps say?
Yeah. The comps, what's selling, what the palette is, what's popular from all the magazines. You're not going to go in there with peaches and yellows. You're going to go with what's popular, which are, the grays and the tans. So stick with that. And then the only other issue I've run into, and this has only happened once or twice in 15, 16 years, is somebody not having their finances in order. We thought they were in order. We got started on the job and they ran out of money. I don't know if they were working with a hard money lender or if they were just working straight out of their bank account, but they were not prepared. And that's one way to lose a contractor, and contractors talk. So if you're not prepared financially to have a job go from start to finish smoothly, that word's going to get around, and it's going to be hard finding another contractor that has the quality of work that you need moving forward with you in the future.
Mm-hmm. And another thing to stress is that there are specialized financing companies out there. For example, at SVI, we have Hearth Financing, which Hearth Financing will literally finance your full renovation. And we're talking about 3 to 5 year payoffs with no prepayment penalties. And we've seen projects at around 5.5% interest rates. So that's phenomenal. And most of all, they work primarily with contractors. So that's definitely an ace to have.
And that's hands down why I like working with SVI, because you guys are already prepared. Y'all are prepared for success.
Thank you.
Next page.
Okay. You have down here overcoming the issues.
Oh yeah, anytime you want to overcome really avoid any issues, is just communication. if y'all are going to do a change order, if you're going to talk about pricing, if you're going to change the material, after you talk about it, get it in writing, follow up with an email or follow up with a text, especially if there's a number involved as far as pricing goes. Make sure all that's in writing, because it's going to need to get added to the contract and the addendum section anyway. But there, if it was just a phone conversation, there, you don't, it takes out all the he said, she said situation. But if there is a ton of communication going on throughout the entire project, and you've got pictures going back and forth, this is what's going on today, you know, you're probably at work, you're busy, but the contractors really should be really good about sending in pictures and kind of daily information. This is what happened today. These are the inspections we got today. So I tend to over communicate with the homeowners, but communication, finding a contractor willing to communicate with you quite a bit, and you'll avoid all kinds of conflict in the end.
Okay, you said finding a contractor that's willing to communicate with you.
Yeah.
All right, that's very good, very good. And I'm glad you said it. You're like, yeah, because I mean, in the past when we were interviewing contractors, some of them don't want you to interview. They're like, let me do my job and let's move forward. But I mean, that I think is probably one of the most important parts of your relationship, is knowing, can you guys talk? You know?
And some of those contractors, I can see where they're coming from, because they do want to just get their job done, but they need to establish that trust, and you need to trust them that they're going to get the job done and you can leave them alone. It's going to take 1 or 2 projects to gain that trust. So the first couple of projects should be a really large open line of communication. And once that trust is gained, then you know that the homeowner or the investor is going to be like, you know what, leave her alone. She knows what she's doing. Just let her tear it up.
Absolutely, which allows you to go to being an investor, find deals and money, right?
Exactly.
All right, so let's see here, next slide.
So typically what you want to ask a contractor in an interview, you want to know how long they've been in business. You want to make sure they're pretty established, or, you know, they haven't been doing this for 2 or 3 years. Because if they've only been in it for 2 or 3 years, there's a good chance they don't know all the hiccups involved with dealing with the city. And there's just a lot of established history there that is missing if it's not a seasoned contractor. So I would typically say stick around the 5, 10, 15, 20-year contractors. You can ask if they have a contractor's license, but in the state of Texas, a GC contractor isn't required to have a license. However, all the major trades have to have a license, which is your electrician, your plumber, your HVAC. So you just want to make sure that they are using licensed trades, because if it's in the city of Houston, it's going to be permitted and it has to pass inspection. It has to be with a licensed trade. You can ask for a certificate of insurance just to make sure that this is a legit company. If something goes wrong, that liability insurance is going to cover, you know, anything that happens on the property. You want to make sure that contractor is fully capable of obtaining permits and ordering the inspections to get that property to the state that it needs to be in so that we can sell. You're going to want to know what the timeline is of completion. That will be established once the scope of work has been determined. If you come in and say, oh, we're just going to, you know, spruce this up with a coat of paint, they can tell you that on site. But if it's a full gut and remodel, if it's an addition, they're going to give you pretty much a general month, like without weather delays. We're looking at about 3 to 4 months. If we have any weather delays, 4 to 5 months, so that you're prepared for that. You know, everybody makes money when we get the house on the market and get it sold. Everyone gets their final paycheck when it's sold and we pass inspection. So it's not in the interest of the contractor to draw that job site out any further than it has to go. And your payment schedule is typically going to be in the contract, and that's established once the scope of work is determined.
Okay, so one good point that you made there, to stay on this page here of questions, because we have more, is, you know, will you obtain the permits and set the inspections required for this job? That is so huge. Mm-hmm. And usually it's your contractor who's setting up the permits through the city, correct?
Correct.
And then
it's under that permit number is under their name, because then they have to order the inspections.
Okay, and now with the inspections, is it ideal for the GC to be there for the inspections, or the investor, or what's your recommendation?
The contractor to be there. The contractor, so if it's the GC should be there, as well as any of the licensed contractors. Okay. But the GC should be there at all times, because if for any reason they give you a red tag, and the inspectors tend to just scribble down a little note as to why you got that red tag. If you're on site, you can actually have a discussion with that inspector and say, and understand why he gave you the red tag. And a lot of times if you're there and you're having a discussion, you can get it knocked out and have a recall for the very next morning and get your green tag just like that.
Okay.
Definitely want to be on site and ready to handle that whole situation. And at the same time, it shows respect to the city that you're taking the time out to be there with him while he's evaluating the work that you've done. So it's all out of respect.
Absolutely. And that is the difference where, most inspectors, people kind of think, oh, you're just having a bad day every day. It's because people aren't doing this for them. People aren't, being courteous to them.
Right.
And here, something here about the timelines and completion. So I'm gonna position this question here. I've had members and other people who I've talked to say, well, what's the fair way to approach the not finishing on time? My contractor said 2 weeks and we're at 6 weeks. What's good, what's bad, what should be done, what shouldn't be done?
Unless it's a weather delay, if it's just them being lazy and not on top of the schedule with their guys, there should be some monetary penalty. Y'all would need to discuss that between you and the contractor. And if it's out of your hands and it was just them being lazy and unprepared, come up with a daily rate, $50 a day, $100 a day, whatever it's going to take. But if you're at the 6 week mark, that adds up and that's money back in your pocket.
Okay.
Yeah, come to an agreement and that needs to be part of the contract.
Okay. Would you also say the fact of not having work commenced, saying, for example, let's say your painter left and work did not get work didn't get started because you had to find a replacement or something, who knows what happened? Because I know we ran into a lot of this during COVID, is that the painters left, somebody on the crew, had the virus, and then all of a sudden it's been a month before we get a replacement. Obviously that's a special circumstance, but are there any certain timelines that would put the contractor in somewhat of a breach of performance? Because that's one of the biggest things.
If there's any amount of neglect, for instance, one time, and it wasn't a permitted job, but my plumber just up and disappeared and showed back up 3 weeks later. He was in Mexico. And I'm like, you can't call, you can't, I didn't work with him again after that, after I chewed him out, but I thought that was completely unprofessional. But at the same time, I also now have 3 or 4 backup plumbers, electricians, HVAC, so I can get somebody else in there really quick to get it knocked out. And if it's a situation like COVID, I've got 4 and 5 crews of everything. So I'll bring in the next painter if I have to. I'll bring in the next framer. And if it's a thing where the contractor is sick, I'll renegotiate their contract versus bringing in the extra sub and renegotiate it so that it's, if anything, it's nothing out of pocket for anybody. But that's just special circumstances that we have to attack.
Excellent.
At the moment,
we've seen in the past that a lot of times the cure date is anywhere between like 3 to 5 days in order to get something moving on a project, because all of that time really does just take a full impact.
Typically the only one trade I've ever had problems getting in there on time, and it's because he was so tied up with other work, was my cabinet builder. But these days I'm not even building custom cabinets anymore. I'm doing the prefab cabinets. So that's just getting those guys in there. But any general contractor who knows his or her schedule, and know that in 3 weeks we're going to be ready for cabinets, should already have the installer ready to go.
Great answer there. Let's see here. Next questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so what way would you like to get in touch? What would you like to get in touch with the contractor? Talk about that with them, because typically contractors are on site all day long and they're dealing with everybody. So talk about what they prefer. Me personally, shoot me a text and I can say, hey, I'll call you in 10 minutes. I'm in a meeting, I'm with a contractor, I'm on site, I'm getting an inspection, but I will shoot a text back real quick, 10 minutes. And then I'll follow up with a phone call. And if in that phone call, we made any verbal changes, then I will follow up with an email saying, hey, just to reiterate the conversation we had today, this is what we discussed, please confirm. And I'll get that in an email. Then you want to talk about your job site, how you want to keep it clean and safe for everyone. So you want to verify with the GC that everything's going to be cleaned at the end of the day. It's not going to be a hazard for anybody to get hurt, because we don't want any liabilities on anybody, the investors or the GCs. You're going to want to talk about, you know, if it's going to be heavy machinery or tools, how is that going to get there? That's typically on the GC anyway. And the way it's going to be stored, if the windows aren't installed yet, you know, it's up to them to have a pod on site so that those tools can be locked up. None of this stuff is on the homeowner. That everything has to do with labor, materials, and tools is on the GC. So if anything walks off the job site, that's on the GC. That's their responsibility, their stuff. That is not on you. So if somebody comes and picks up all the lumber for the room addition, the GC has to replace that. That's not on the homeowner. That was their responsibility.
And requirement insurance wise, what are recommendations insurance that a GC should?
Minimum 1 million coverage, limited liability. So I've had this, that covers the GC, but the homeowner is going to want to have builder's risk on the property. The reason for being, especially around Christmas time, things go missing. I've had a brand new front door stolen. I've had a brand new AC unit stolen. The appliances have been stolen. Your builder's risk coverage for your house for each property that the homeowner has will cover. It's like I think a $500 deductible. And you can set it up however you want it, but that will cover especially if they steal the AC unit, $500, and you get that replaced. So you're going to want the builder's risk. Any homeowner is going to want that on their property. It's minimal. It's like maybe $200, I think. But the GC needs to have at least a limited liability of 1 million coverage.
Okay.
So that takes care of 9 and 10. The warranty for services and materials. So products like your appliances, your cabinets, toilets, plumbing fixtures, light fixtures, those all come with manufacturer warranty. Your general contractor typically puts a 1-year warranty on all craftsmanship. So that's your baseboards, flooring installation, cracks in the sheetrock. If anything happens to that house in 1 year, they'll come back on the craftsman side of it and they'll repair it, or they should.
Okay. On materials, to stay on point with that, what's your recommendation or thoughts? And I know this could be, either or. People say, I like to buy my materials and have them delivered and set ready to go. And then when you show up, we're just, have at it, let's get you working on the project. What's your recommendation or thoughts
the
on that?
owners would buy the material and have them on site? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. If that's the case, then they just need to make sure they're put in an area where they're absolutely secure. That way we can just show up and get the work done. And then we're just strictly labor.
Okay.
But keep in mind, if they don't have a general contractor's account set up anywhere, they're not going to get the discounts that we get. So you may be spending $10 on your flooring when we could get it for you for $6.
Got it.
But keep that in mind too. You may want to look at that both ways, because we can definitely get you that champagne look on a beer budget.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because you work hand in hand with Maria at SVI. So, you're cross-checking budgets and seeing the best selections for the best price. I know that champagne, what did you say?
Champagne look on a beer budget.
There you go. That's great. It's all about the bottom line.
That's right.
Yep. And how do you resolve any disagreements?
Well, if any should come up, sit down and talk about it. Stay calm, keep your emotions out of it, and talk about the facts. If you have full communication throughout the entire project, you shouldn't have any disagreements. If anything, it would be an oversight on some information that was shared in the email, and we can just simply refer back to that information. But definitely don't go losing your temper and waving your hands about. That's not how we get things done. We stay calm, we talk about it, and we resolve it one way or another. We just meet in the middle. Okay.
So these are key questions that you should be asking your contractor to get an overall perspective and view of them. Now, on the level of personality, what do you recommend? What makes what two personalities do you think might not mix? And the reason why I'm asking you this is, in the years that we've been investing, in the amount of people that we have at SVI and other people that we've worked with, we've had to tell people, just because you have the money doesn't make you the expert at talking to the contractor, and vice versa, because that can become very, very volatile.
Agreed.
So what's your recommendation, and if possible, past experiences that you can enlighten us with diffusing that, or not even walking into that?
All right. Well, past experiences have always been have had difficulty working with engineers and lawyers.
Okay.
They tend to like to micromanage, and I can't stand that. I mean, to an extent, I can understand their attention to detail, but sometimes it is overwhelming. So when I find out that that's what they do, I will typically overprice that project so high that they don't want to pay.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, but other than that, as long as people are polite, we're good to go. If you're going to be condescending, rude, or disrespectful, that I will not work with people like that. Not one bit.
Okay, so vice versa. You get to pick and choose, they get to pick and choose.
Absolutely.
So
When I talk to investors and homeowners, I'm interviewing them.
got it. All right. Let's see here. We just got a comment from one of our members, Tom Cadell. He says, I'm changing my profession. All right, so we've hit the midpoint here of the webinar. Let's see what we have here. This is some information that to get to know FIC Homes a little bit more. But in the meantime, this is such a great opportunity for people to ask questions. So let's go ahead and open this up to a Q&A, because that's exactly, guys, what this is all about. This is about you asking questions. StratiVentures brings this information to you, also brings the quality type of speakers, because you know it's about learning and most of all getting to know each other there. So let's start off here with this. Lori Bloodworth asks, should you disclose your full budget to a contractor or wait to see what their bid is and go from there?
You disclose what you want done, your scope of work. Don't disclose numbers.
Okay, so disclose the scope of work.
So let them come up with their numbers. And then if they're too low or too high, you can discuss that. Well, I was kind of thinking about, that's a little high for my budget. Where can we save on costs? Because if you like their personality, the contractor, then you guys can go back and forth and get those numbers down. And typically it's probably going to get down from in the cost of the materials, but it's worth a discussion. But, let them be honest about it and come back with their numbers first.
Okay, that's great. So let me ask you this. To you, what is enough on a scope of work? And Lori, thank you so much for that question. That was awesome. To you, what's enough on a scope of work and what's too much? What do you feel is appropriate?
I don't ever think anything's too much, because the more detail there are, the more accurate the numbers can be. If you're going to be vague about it, then the numbers are going to be pretty much, a roundabout figure. Oh, it's going to be in this budget range. But if you have a lot of details on that scope, then we can pinpoint the number down to the exact digit it's going to be, and it won't move unless you have a change order.
Okay. Lori, thank you so much for that question there. And let's see here. We have Herman Walker asked, what tasks or functions do you deem need a city inspection?
Oh, just to get an inspection, the GC will call the city. Actually, I have everything. I do everything online, because I'll register the permit number online, and that way I get the updates through text message. So if you call in and say, hey, I need an inspection for the framing or for the plumbing, HVAC, whatever, then they're going to say, okay, well, it's going to happen tomorrow between the hours of 7 and 4 p.m. and you're sitting on site all day long, and when you could be doing other things. If you go through the automated system, they'll actually text you and say, oh, they're going to be there between 7 and 9, or it's going to be between 3 and 4. So they'll give you more accurate, so you can go about your day and run your errands and do whatever you need to do. It's just a matter of calling up there. You got to have the permit number. If you want to check, you as the homeowner, you want to check on the permit status, you can call up there and give them the permit number and say, could you please give me the list of everything that has passed? Okay. And they'll get that to you over the phone.
Okay, let me make sure if I'm understanding Herman's question completely here. Is garage conversion permitting or no permitting?
In the city of Houston, permitting.
All right. Structural wall being torn down. If we know it's a structural or not, we don't just say, let's tear it down, right? What do we need to do?
If it's load bearing, you have to have a permit. If it's non-loaded, you don't need a permit. Okay. Again, all in the city of Houston. If you get outside of the city of Houston, you don't have to do a lot of permitting in that area.
So would you say these are questions that in the scope of work, the more information, the better? Obviously, handing it to a person like yourself and your expertise, you would say, these are going to be permitting items. These are not going to be permitting items. These are going to take us so much time, and this is, let's get going.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great.
If it's a makeover, we won't need a permit. But if we're going to be doing anything structural, electric, plumbing, or HVAC, we will need a permit.
Excellent. Herman, another great question from you every single time, buddy. Here we have Anthony Bumara stated, don't forget completed operations and loss of profits. If you could be a little bit more specific or clear on that, Mr. Bumara. feel free to retype that question or give us some direction if you don't mind, sir. Let's see here. See, Troy Covey asked, I've had 5 different contractors come out to a potential flip house that I'm interested in. It's been 2 weeks and I still do not have the numbers from any of them. What is the realistic expectations for a good, accurate quote from a contractor? Now, that's a loaded question.
Well, it depends. Is this just a bathroom remodel or is it an entire house remodel? Is it a lipstick makeover or are we gutting it down to the studs and redoing it? It depends, because if it's an entire house remodel, you typically need about a week to put that together. But if it's just a lipstick makeover, 48 hours.
Got it. Okay, so depending on the scope of work should be a time frame, but looking at full case entire house, as you just stated here,
Right.
that's going to be about a week. Excellent. Excellent.
I looked at a house today and I knew right away I was going to need to get my foundation guy back out there. So I've got to reschedule to go back out there with the foundation guy. All my other trades, they can go off my notes and my pictures to give me my numbers. But yeah, sometimes when it's a full house remodel and there's roofing issues or foundation issues, they got to get back out there with their contractors anyway.
Wait a minute. Was that one of our pad split properties that you looked at for today? Oh, thanks for giving me a preemptive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have to look at foundations. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anthony Bamara was asking about the cost and loss of your insurance policy.
What about it?
Right. Let's see here. Guess I'm not sure, Anthony. I apologize for that on the clarity side of that, sir. Let's see here. Lien releases, W-9s with your trades. Get that coverage. Thank you. He says, go ahead and get the coverage for operations and loss of profit. Great. That, guys, is definitely a good recommendation there by Anthony. You can check with your insurance provider, and a lot of times those are built in within umbrella coverages, and also your builder's risk, I believe, covers that in the policy. So now I got you, Anthony. Thank you, sir. Let's see here. Let's see. I think we got other questions coming in from the chat.
As far as that W-9 question you just mentioned, all my trades work under my umbrella. So I would give my W-9 because you hired FIC Homes. So that's the only W-9 you would have to worry about at the beginning of the project. And then whenever our contract between the investor and myself is complete, that's when you sign off on your warranty. The year starts for the warranty, and that's also at the same time the release of lien, so that GC can't put a lien on that house. Of course, that warranty doesn't go into effect until they get their final payment. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Okay, great. Here was a question. When you walk a property with an investor, do you develop the scope of work, or what do you recommend?
We can develop it together. I can give you my recommendations. This is what I would do. This is what I wouldn't do. I can give you all the bells and whistles of what we could do to this house, and we can trim the fat later. If you don't quite know what your budget is, if you're still trying to do your homework and figure out where the resale is going to be and what kind of profit you want to make, then at that point you can say, oh, we can do a $90,000 budget, or we really need to trim it back down to $70,000 budget because you want to make a better profit. If that's the case, then we'll trim the fat based on the itemized scope that we put together.
Okay, and this is a question from me to you, and obviously it would be for the general audience. So you get 3 bids. One bid, same scope of work. One's for $60,000, the other one is for $40,000, another one is for $90,000. Mm-hmm. Why the difference?
It depends on what trades they're using. If these aren't your typical, for instance, if they have 3 main plumbers, but they're all busy and they've got to go get another plumber, another plumber could be just outpricing everything because he's never worked with that builder before. That could be one option. The other option is you got to ask them what budget on materials are they using, because a lot of times when they're considering $15 a square foot on granite, when this house owner, really dictates maybe an $8 square foot granite. So you want to look at all the contracts, apple to apples, and say, tell me what your budget was for materials. And they should be able to give you that information if it's not already in the contract.
Awesome. And then do the comparison, identify the changes, and act on questioning those changes.
Exactly.
That's perfect. That's one of the things I love the most about the relationship that you, for example, Angela, and all our other contractors at SVI have with Maria. She will look at that bid and just come up to the best, because at the end of the day, if nobody accepts your bid, nobody gets to work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody gets to work.
Well, in this to make money.
Eh,
Typically, if you find a general contractor working with investors, they're going to bring their numbers down a little bit just so they get repeat work from you. So you would like to find a investor friendly contractor.
Okay, we've got more questions coming in, guys. Awesome on the questions. Let's get some more here. When I send you a 1099 at the end of the project, should should all appliances be on it? What should not be on it?
Sometimes, well, typically appliances are an opinion piece. In the past, we've always had the investor pick out the appliances they want. If they want the general contractor to pick out the appliances, we'll pick out something that's in their budget. It's typically either going to be from Sears Outlet or from Lowe's, and it'll be delivered and installed by that company. But as far as appliances go, if you're going to include it on the 1099 and the GC has bought that, then they're just going to turn their appliance receipts into the bookkeeper, so it's all going to be accounted for anyway for their taxes.
Okay. Well, one of the things, if I could say something here is, and for everybody that's listening, we stopped, I think, by our third or fourth project buying refrigerators for the projects,
Right.
because nowadays with the type of refrigerators that are there, and this has happened to us, we have a beautiful project. They love the house. They walk up to the refrigerator and they open it and go, this isn't the one we want. And all of a sudden you're inventorying refrigerators. Instead, we give about a $2,500 allowance. Kind of like, we tell our realtors is if you sign today, you get $2,500 towards your refrigerator, because I don't know about you, Angela, if you haven't walked, which you probably have walked all of the Lowe's and all of the big box appliance stores, these refrigerators now are computers.
Ooh,
They're
expensive.
And they're expensive.
So unique in design, and it's the wife, the lady of the house that's in and out of it, and she knows what she wants. So yeah, leave that one just as a gift, and then she can go pick it out.
Excellent. So here, Troy asked us, I said, I currently have an issue with, in my opinion, is a bad tile job and floor in the master shower. I know the contractor doesn't want to rip it out and replace it. He believes the floor is fine and wanting to just remove some tiles on the walls. How do you get them to fix it the way we want it, and not just the way he says it's fine?
That's going to be a hard one, because if it's functional, it's not leaking. I mean, aside from a crooked line or a crooked grout line, yeah, he needs to fix that. The aesthetics need to be perfect. But if it's functioning as it should be, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's going to be very hard to get him to pull that out. Even if you were to go to court and show pictures, they're going to say, does it function? Does it serve its purpose? Yes or no. Now, if it's a crooked tile, a crooked grout, or the grout line's too small, then allow him to pull that out and make it right. But I mean, if the whole thing is completely out of whack, then he should absolutely replace it.
Okay. Is that an item that somebody should hold back on paying the final draw till it's fixed?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're an unhappy customer with the quality of work, hold back until it's done right.
What's the acceptable amount of final retention that you should hold on a project with a contractor?
Typically, it's anywhere from 5 to 10%. It depends on because if it's $100,000 remodel, you're typically holding back 5-10 grand. But if it's only $60,000 remodel, then you're holding back $6,000. So nobody's going to walk away from that, and they're going to want to make sure it's done right.
Okay, and this might be a yes or no type question bouncing left and right. And we hear this all the time. Our contractor said that for every $10,000 worth of work, it's 1 week worth of time. True? Not true? Okay.
I've never heard that before, because I can spend 40 grand in 1 week real quick.
Okay, good. And that's
between ordering materials and then getting 3 or 4 trades in there and getting them their deposits to get it. I have everybody on top of each other. I'm wanting to get this done quick. I don't baby them and let them come in one at a time. They just have to learn to get along.
Okay, so scheduling is major. So that also brings the question of draws. What is too many draws? What's too little draws? And what is the comfort level of releasing funds to your contractor?
Well, if it's a small job, 20 to 60 grand, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 draws. But if it's a larger, like $100,000 You're looking at probably 8 draws on that.
Okay.
8 to 10, you know, depends on how fast they're moving. But if anybody's working with a hard money lender, those guidelines are going to need to be handed over to the contractor, because he's going to want to make sure that he's meeting the guidelines for the hard money lender before they come do their inspection and release the funds. Every lender is different. And so that needs to be notated up front with the GC, because otherwise he or she's going to do it their way, and they're going to have half the house done on all trades, but it's not getting paid out because we weren't 75% on just one trade. So
Okay.
round and round with a couple of hard money lenders before to say, look, this is all at 50% on all these trades, and we're needing a draw. And they're like, yeah, but we wanted that first section or the first chapter of the renovation. We wanted just these 2 trades at 60, 75%. So we went round and round with them and showed receipts, and we're like, this is where all the money went. We need you to, you know, keep it moving forward. So that can be avoided if there are hard money or any lender guidelines that we need to follow.
Absolutely, guys. And take it from me here. This is very critical, knowing that you have a contractor that's wanting to communicate with you and talk about numbers, because at the end of the day, it's about practicing good business. And I can tell you that, Angela, you and I, on the bids that you've made for us on new builds and also on renovations, you will sit down with us and go over the line items, because it's justified. We were going over the plans that we're doing for the pad splits that we're building, and the way you explained it, and looking at the material costs, especially when we went over the lumber packages, I cross-checked that and go, oh my gosh, she's totally right. Yeah. Because how many times, give me your opinion about lumber pricing right now in the
right market. Right now it's 78% increase from the beginning of the year. It's up 78%. They anticipate it going down after the new year. So if anybody's going to be doing new construction, wait until January. Lumber prices should be going back down, but right now it's ridiculous how high it is.
Yeah, and you have a couple of our members' duplexes basically on standby, waiting for that change to happen on the material.
Yes, because that's going to be a significant difference in their numbers. You know, right now it's all lumber for new construction is about $15 a square foot. If we wait till after the new year, we might be able to get that down to $6 or $7 a square foot. I'm hoping. I don't know how far it's going to drop, but I mean, it's up 78% right now.
All right. Now let me ask you this question, and this is a question on opinion, obviously headed towards the contractor, is we have seen in the past the amount of deals that we review at SVI, that the wholesaler predominantly, who may not look at the transaction, may not even go to the property, simply look at pictures and say, oh, this is cosmetic work. Mm-hmm. In the eyes of a contractor, mm-hmm. What is cosmetic work to you?
Cosmetic is paint, baseboards, painting the cabinets, doing some granite and backsplash. It's not structural. It's just, it's a lipstick makeover, you know, flooring paint, making it look pretty, slapping something on there and putting it on the market. Maybe a roof, you know, that's still cosmetic if it needs new shingles, but non-cosmetic is going to be brand new baths, brand new kitchens, completely gut. You know, you can go into a kitchen, if it's got good bones, you can just replace the doors and drawer fronts. If the cabinets are good and the layout's still good and you want to give it an updated look, just replace the door and drawer fronts and put on some hardware, paint it all, put granite in there, some nice backsplash. That's easy. But if we're having to gut the whole thing and take out a wall and give it the open concept, and we're going to put a big old island in there for entertainment, that's not cosmetic. That's going to be a lot more, that's going to be more pricey for sure. Okay. New bathrooms, new windows, you know, that stuff gets pricey. But if we're going to be in and out of there in 2 weeks, you're talking about flooring, coat of paint, giving that fresh look on the interior and exterior, and getting it listed.
Okay. So what's your opinion on if somebody were to be in front of a house and we're looking at all different levels of investors? You know, you have people that go, oh, I never changed the roof, or I just power wash and steam. Mm-hmm. What are the couple things that somebody needs to look at the roof and say, please identify this first and note on your scope of work? Because roofing is very, I believe, where a lot of contractors may say we need to change it when you really don't need to change it, other than knowing that it has life, but it's just been,
it depends on, we can budget the roof to be done and not do it and wait to see if the next buyer is going to want it done. At least you're prepared in the budget for it. we can price it out and say, you know, determine whether that's going to be, that's something you can work with. If not, if it still has life, if it's 10 years into its 15, 25, 25-year life, then you don't need to touch it. That's a waste of money.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me make sure I understood you on this. Price it into the budgeting, put it on the market with the house, but have it as an incentive, knowing that it's budgeted in there.
Yeah.
And that could be a selling tool towards the new person.
Okay. If they didn't catch it and the inspector didn't catch it and it's fine and it's got life, that's money back in your pocket.
Great point there, guys.
Weird to change it. So budget for it, because if they come back and the inspector tags it and the buyers are like, no, we want it changed out, then that's not you're not going to take one in the gut for that. You're prepared for it. You got the money. So let's move forward with it.
All right. All right, guys. So do any of you guys have more questions here for Angela? We're getting close to our time frame. We've got another about 10 minutes in order to answer questions. Angela, if you want to enlighten us some more with information that you might have, some key do's and don'ts. Don't over rehab it, because I like to say, if you over rehab it, I guarantee you're living in it. And
Yep. Keep your opinion out of it. Go with the popular palettes. Don't make any emotional decisions. Don't get real gaudy on the fixtures or the hardware. I know you may want something foo-foo and super, you would put in your own house, but just follow what the designers put together and don't veer from that, because the whole team is here to help you make money, and we're not going to make money if you don't make money, because you're not going to come back and keep working with us.
Great point. Price points for granite. I know people look at granite and you hear them say level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Tell us a little bit about, what does level 1 mean, all the way to level whatever it gets to. What price point would you be putting things?
The price point is going to be based on your location. You have the house. I mean, if you got a house in Champions Forest and it's a mini mansion, you're going to want a really nice granite that's comparable to the other houses that are selling. But if you got a little 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom over there off of Shepherd Drive, then you're going to want to do something more in the $8 to $10 range per square foot, instead of the $25 per square foot granite, the really nice stuff. Because at the end of the day, if you put the expensive stuff in the smaller house, you're not going to get that money back in the sale. I mean, you're basically throwing your money away.
I know the other day we were looking at some budgeting, and you really put something in my mind of the technology and the design work that it's gone into built-in showers now. Is amazing. And all I did was kept Googling and Googling. I'm going, oh my gosh, this is not your standard shower anymore.
Yeah.
What is the difference of putting one in to actually popping one in? And what's your opinion on that?
So the prefab acrylic showers, the pop-in showers, so to speak, we can have those on site and finished in one day. That's no tile work. It's very crisp. It's clean. It's got the little cubbies and the nooks and crannies for, set all your bottles, and it gives you that clean look. But those are typically going to be in your houses that are $100,000 or less. Anytime you get into more of the $150,000 and up range, you're going to want a tile surround. And that's just going to give you that nicer look, because it's going to be a nicer house. Someone spending that kind of money, they're going to expect to see tile.
All right. And for tile going into a tub area, is it better to go with the longer type of tile, or are we talking about just the 1x1s, or do we get a little bit more extravagant there, or tile up, or just halfway? What's your recommendation?
So I typically go with like a 12x24, and I do tile up and on a broken joint. If you tile up, it will elongate the entire room, and it makes the room feel bigger. It's all how the aesthetics work whenever you lay the tile out. And the reason I like to use the broken joint instead of the straightaway is because then the tile doesn't have to be as perfect. Whereas if it's the perfect grid, it has to be absolutely perfect. But then again, the broken joint is what's popular right now. It's in style. You can go horizontal with the longer tile, but it's going to feel squatty, but it will make the room feel bigger this way, just not taller. And people are drawn towards the feeling of a taller ceiling, even if it's not.
And I am glad you said that, because I've gone into rehabs and I looked at them and I go, that's only another 2 feet. Why didn't we go up another 2 feet, and tile? And that is such a major difference.
All the way to the ceiling. It makes it feel bigger.
All right,
Yeah.
we got a question that came in here. Should I be paying a contractor to come in and give me an estimate?
No, they should do that for free.
Okay.
He's charging you. He's probably really busy, and he doesn't need the work anyway.
Okay. And in regards to that question, there is when a contractor gives a bid, should your bids be broken up by section? If somebody asks you, what about, I know you gave me $50,000 bid and you have 4 line items here. What's the appropriate way to say, I'd like to know what's in each line item that got me to the 50,000?
If you don't mind, itemize it for me. Give me some more details as to where all this money's going to. So that way it helps you understand if the money is a little higher on this material, you can say, okay, I see where this is at right now. Let me pick a different material so we can get this number down. And he should be willing to work with you on that.
Okay, great. Goes back to the communication.
So I don't have to go back and redo it.
Great. So guys, if you want to get a hold of Angela, her contact information is right here. We are working with her. We're so happy to have you back. Right now, I think we're going to be pretty busy with you, and we're super excited. And guys, I can't stress, being able to interview and have great contact with your contractors is something very important. I know we've also, since SVI went national, this information works in any market because it's about common sense and being a good person with good reputable contractors to build relationship. Mm-hmm. So Angela, any final words there?
No, if anybody has further questions after tonight, feel free to email me, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, and I'm happy to answer anything. And I'm happy to help you guys along. Excellent.
We really appreciate that, guys. Feel free to reach out to her. For those of you that are wanting to get to know more about us at SVI and also know that Angela's coming with a package here, guys, go to investorrealestatetraining.com. We have webinars, we have training sessions for every single one of these practices of the real estate industry. And then if you want to make it easier, just pull your phones out and scan the barcode here, or the QR code, as the girls like to say, and subscribe to us on all of these social platforms. They really drill that into me to say that because it works, and I really appreciate that. Let's see here, Angela's contact information, Enid just posted that on the chat. And so I guess with that, guys, everybody, please have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your family. And Angela, you and I definitely having more conversations this week. You got to visit the property that pad split came and checked out for us. And I think we're going to be moving forward on that with you. I think you and Pedro are working on getting the budgets and stuff together. And we look forward to a prosperous relationship with you guys. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And just remember, every other Monday, this Monday, no webinar next Monday, will be the next Monday after that. So everybody have a great evening, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye, Angela.